In Tableau, whenever we connect to any of the data source, we have options to edit the metadata. For example, whenever we connect to Excel, which is sample superstar Excel, which we are using in this example, we are getting some of the columns in dimension, some of the columns in measure. Now, if you see, we have different data types here in every column. Like if it is a circle, if it is a globe icon, it is a geographic location. If it is hash, it's number. If it is string, it's character or string. If we right click on this customer name, we can just duplicate this column. So if we want to use this column again with some specific example, then we can just duplicate this particular column. Once we click on this duplicate, it will create a copy of it. Want to change the default format of customer name and we want to keep the original format in some other column, we can just create copy of it. If we want to rename, so we have created this custom name copy. If we want to rename it, we can just right click on it and we can rename this one. Maybe we'll rename it as customer name new. Now if we just right click on any of the column, if we want to hide this particular column from here, we can just hide it. If we want to get this back, we can use Ctrl Z, we can get the hidden column back. We want to change the aliases of this particular column. For example, I'll take the ship mode column. If we just change this alias, then we have three names, which is delivery truck, express air, regular air. Give some alias to this particular column. We can just give the alias and then this alias will work there in new graph. So I'll just change this to express air to express and then we can see this is showing express here, not express air. Now if we want to get back to this original version, we can go to ship mode, aliases. We can see what all aliases we have given. If it has alias, it will give star mark. If it is not having any alias, it will not give any star mark. So we can just clear this alias, we will get the original name back. So if we are getting some of the data and then it has some other name or meaning in business, we can just replace this original data column by the business name or business understanding of that particular column, and we can change this alias. Change it with data source, it will be applicable to all the graphs which are using this particular column. Again, if we just right click on the ship mode, we can see here we have create option. In create, we can create calculated fields using this particular ship mode. So if we just right click on ship mode and click on create calculated field, it will open a window where we can give calculated field name and it will give the ship mode column in formula automatically. So if we want to write any calculation on top of the ship mode, like if ship mode is equal to express air, then write A. If it is regular air, then B, LC. So all the calculations we can do using calculated field. So we'll write one calculated field here. I'll write it as a new ship modes and we'll write one if statement, or maybe we'll write a case statement. So case ship mode when it is delivery truck, then write it as by road, else just make it as by air. Okay, so we are writing a calculated field which is if our delivery truck is, if our ship mode is delivery truck, then it is by road, else it is by air. Calculation is valid, we'll click OK. We'll get new ship modes. We'll bring it in graph. Now we can see delivery truck is showing by road, others are by air. This is how we can have calculated fields created. We can just again go to create. We can create groups using calculated using these columns. We can create sets or we can create parameters. In transform option, if we are getting one of the column which has a comma separated value or semicolon separated value, we want to split this particular column. We can use split and custom split option. By using the split and custom split, we can convert one of the column into two different columns or multiple columns. Then we have convert to major. So if we want to convert this particular column into major, either we can drag it from dimension to major or we can just click on this convert to major. Now by default now data type is string, that is coming from Excel file. It is reading Excel file, and in change data type we can just change the data type of this particular column. So we can change it from string to boolean, from date, or any other data type. Now in geographical role, if we are getting one of the column which is having some geographical role and it is not identified directly in Tableau, we can just change it to other geographical role. So we can either change it to country, city, or state, zip code. We can change it to anything based on what data column it is. In default properties we have comment option. So if we are writing, if we are having one of the column which is uh, sales 1, sales 2, sales 3, or it is dimension 1, 2, 3, to give some additional comments here. So we can just go to this default properties, we can give comment. So in comment we'll write ship mode used for delivery. We will write some additional information about this particular column. Now once we hover on it, it will show this comment which we have written. So that's where we can change this. So we can add this comments from default properties. We can assign colors, so we can define which colors we want to give to this ship mode column, and even we can have the shapes, so which shapes we want to allocate to this ship mode column. Or the last one was sorting, so what sorting or by default sorting we want to keep there. So we can define this fixed colors, we can define fixed shapes and sorting options in Tableau for any of the column. Then we have group by, so it is grouped by data source table. Now hierarchy, if you want to create hierarchy, we can create hierarchy by just clicking on this create hierarchy. It will open the hierarchy window. We can define what hierarchy we want. And we have describe option. So in describe option it gives more information about this particular field. Even in majors we'll have default properties where we can have number format. So we can define what default number format we want for this major. Or we can just have aggregation. So whenever we drag any column in Tableau's graph, it is by default sum, because the default aggregation is sum. So if you want to have this default aggregation change from sum to something else, for example discount, bringing this discount in graph is by default sum. But if you want to change this default aggregation, so we'll go to default properties, aggregation, we'll change it to average. So next time whenever we drag this discount column, it is by default average of discount, not sum of discount. So we can change default properties of it. So these are the options of changing the metadata, and once we change this metadata we can just save this particular file and we can save this data source basically. So we can just right click on this data source and we can add this data source, save data sources. Once we add this, it is saved as TDS file. I'll just name it as sample TDS. Once we save it, we have home page. Once we go to home page, we can see this data source is added here. So next time we just need to click on it and we'll come to this new data source where we have made all the changes. So the sample data source is automatically added. You can see the sample data source is automatically added here. So this is how we can change the metadata and then we can save this file in our local system. So next time whenever we want to refer the same files with all the logic which we have applied, we can directly get it there through the TDS file which we have saved. That's where we can change some of the things in Tableau. Another thing is if we drag the ship mode, now the dysregular error is maybe we have a spell mistake there, it has some other meaning. If we want to change it, we can just right click on it. We can edit this alias by right clicking on it. So from regular error we'll change it to by error. Now it is automatically changed it to by error. So every time we drag ship mode, it is showing by error. Now if you want to see what aliases it is showing, we can just see it has alias which is by air. We can just clear this alias. Okay, now we'll get this regular air back. So this is how we can have some changes done in Tableau's front end rather than writing custom SQLs at back end, and we can do these changes easily by just right clicking on the column and then changing the default property, changing alias or changing the names of these columns, and then we can save it back to local file.